just want to say welcome to everybody and thank you very much for joining us this evening and this afternoon. These are a start of a series of webinars that we're going to be running over the winter, or the autumn and the winter, covering various different areas of sort of business development. And we wanted to start out with this idea of referral marketing. We wanted to sort of kind of address that particular area because we feel that this is a space where the Weave can really sort of kind of pull together a lot of its connections, both at the university and throughout the region, and bring everybody together on that particular page. We also want to introduce, and we will do towards the end of the presentation, we will introduce this whole concept of an inner circle and how we manage that inner circle and how we get the most out of that particular program. So without further ado, let's kick off and just introduce ourselves and what we're all about in that regard. So welcome, as we've just done that. The Weave consists of myself and Adam, and we are the co-founders of the Weave. And Adam, who is somebody that is a full-time nurse but also a practitioner in terms of documentary making, getting things going on the back of that. He's a technology guy as well, so he does a lot of our interactions with the technology. And ultimately, he's somebody that will allow us to hopefully grow our footprint, both through the use of various bits of technology and what we do within that particular space. This is the Weave as we are. We're an ever-growing sort of kind of area. We've got people that are joining us. Alex, who runs our podcast Interwoven. Vicky, who is basically somebody that came from the university and is doing our marketing in terms of our social media management side. Magdalena, for many people who know her, is an entrepreneur in residence with me at the university, but she's also somebody that does a lot of facilitation for the Weave. And when we deliver the business accelerator programs and also the challenge-based programs down at the university, Magdalena is a key area. And then we've got a network of mentors. We've got a network of people that support both entrepreneurs and students in terms of their business development and different facets of what they do. I just want to start with just a kind of an overview of something I learned when I read a book by a guy called Bob Iger, and he's the chief exec of Disney. And what it taught me is one lesson that came out of this is that as entrepreneurs, as leaders of our businesses, we become the embodiment of that business. And there is this area of as our businesses take on sort of kind of that development, that growth or whatever, it's about, at the end of the day, something along the lines of what we're trying to achieve in terms of our outcome, the delivery of what we're about, that kind of thing. It's our DNA at the end of the day, our values, and ultimately the way that we want to really deliver this particular business, this particular project. But we need around us, we need the means to grow our business through referrals and using word of mouth. But we also have to understand that we are leaning into our networks to build an ecosystem of value for the people that we are aiming to support and work with. And ultimately that embodiment of being the leader of our business, the representation of our business, no matter how big our businesses grow, the DNA that we embed within the business stays within it. So Bob Iger has been around for many, many years at Disney, but ultimately you could always say at Disney that inherent DNA has been transferred from generation to generation. And ultimately, every single person that's at the helm of that business has in some way imbued and developed it in a particular way. So we look at this in terms of the kind of the value triangle, what we at the end of the day are trying to drive within our business. So our values, our personal values, have to align to our organizational values, and they have to align to our customer values. And when that happens, when that strength develops within our business, then what happens is that we create, if you like, this frictionless onboarding process. We match our values with those of our customers in such a way that we drive the dynamics of the business and move it forward in that way. So ultimately, from that point of view, that key area, a clear understanding of what matters to us, is then imbued into what our organization, our business really wants to talk about and how that wants to deliver something. And then ultimately from that, we will find, because we are disseminating information, because we are putting in our ideas and our thoughts into the world, into the ether, we will find customers at the end of the day that align to that particular process. And it's a really crucial piece of thinking and a piece of development that we often focus on within the accelerator programs, when we ultimately start to get people to explore what that really means for them and they start to drive their business. Because if we know and if we are that self-aware, we have the ability and the availability of actually moving our business forward in a relatively seamless way. So what does this all mean from the point of view of referrals? Anything that we do, it's around about synergy. It's about this idea that if we can grow a word of mouth engine that sits within our business and that we can use and utilize our networks in terms of referral networks and growth, we can build ecosystems of opportunity for our customers. And the greater the value of that ecosystem to our customers, the greater the emphasis we put into our business. So ultimately, it starts with this idea of an experience. I firmly believe that we've moved away ultimately from this concept of product-based businesses into service-based businesses into the world of an experience-based business. And what that ultimately means and what that does for us is it creates memories, it creates tangible and emotional connections to the business. And that ultimately is something that we're trying to do and drive within that. And if we can invest our time and effort into building systems and processes that can actually generate word of mouth contagion within the business, then we have an engine of growth. And then that will allow us at the end of the day to grow that ecosystem and start to invest in our referral networks and start to develop them. So we've got this engine, if you like, of growth. Something at the end of the day that is systemized, but something at the end of the day which captures all of that emotional congruence, that connection between ourselves and what we're actually trying to achieve. The reason why we focus on it like this is because at the end of it all, the referral process, if we don't build a good experience, if we don't invest our time in understanding what that experience is for our customers, then there's nothing to refer. So it's really important that that word of mouth process really does kick in to the whole basis of both the development of ourselves as the leader of our business, but also within that phrase, within that framework of what we're trying to achieve in the customer, in the business itself. I think it's well worth remembering that you know, there are lots of reasons why referral marketing is such an important aspect of any business and anything that we're trying to achieve. And I think that I love this particular quote from Mayor Angelou. It is this emotional connection when we're driving that area. Marketing for me is so much more than anything about than really communicating that emotional connection between ourselves and our audience and getting that connection invested back into what we're doing so that people will actually then multiply that. They will talk about it and they will take it forward and move it forward into that particular space. So what does it actually mean to have the essence of an experience? And I think there's four key areas of this, and this comes from the work of a particular couple of authors, couple of guys called Pine and Gilmore, who wrote a book about the experience economy. And there are four key areas. There's the aesthetics, there is the ability, if you like, the uplift or the escapism that people can gain from that. There is a need for an educational process within this, and there is ultimately this idea of entertainment, this idea of joining into that moment when we create something where people feel engendered. I always think that there's a really good kind of metaphor, which is obviously business is almost like a theatre. That's what at the end of the day we're trying to create. When people walk into a theatre, they're walking into an environment where there is expectation, where there is uncertainty, where there is a curtain that sits in front of them. And at the end of the day, they are drawn into that whole kind of area. We can do that in our business. We can hold information back. We can give people this idea of an experience, a venue, a space in which they can engage, in which they can actually come into. And then at that point, we allow people to actually, again, sort of experience something which is different, away from the norm, away from their current environment. We want to take them on that journey of transformation. What is it like to actually do and work with us that ultimately will transform that customer's experience and that customer's outcomes into something of value for them? And I think everybody within that, again, if you think of it from the point of view, again, that theatre environment, there is this whole idea of investing ourselves into that moment, into that experience, and then allowing ourselves to actually enjoy the play, enjoy the production, enjoy that front of house engagement. Ultimately, again, we're in that journey because if we are to drive advocacy, if we are to drive enthusiasm and passion for what we do into that particular world, there is an educational process that people will want from us. They want to know at the end of the day what it's like to be on that journey. They want to know at the end of the day what it feels like to actually go through that transformation and what they're going to be doing at the end of it. And ultimately, you've also got that idea that they're being entertained, that they are experiencing something that they're going to enjoy. And the tragedy for a lot of businesses is, I think, that they miss that entertainment side. They don't think of themselves in that particular role. They think of it as functional rather than anything else. And when we work down at the university and we speak to a lot of businesses and we're down in that environment, it's always for us about what that kind of space can offer everybody in terms of entertainment. What can it do to break the ice, to actually lower the stress levels for a lot of the businesses and the people within it, and give them that opportunity. So this is an enrichment process that sits around experiences, and it's something majorly of value when you start to think about what you're trying to create for your customer. And if you're going to drive that referral marketing piece, if you're going to really take that through, then really making sure that we've got an enriched experience within that environment ultimately will help us get there. This is something at the end of the day which kind of is tantamount to what we really want. Why do we want to invest in this? Well, referrals, there's a really, really good economic case for us. The referral marketing pays dividends. Referral marketing delivers growth within our business, and it delivers a factor of growth that's greater than potentially what we would ever experience through other traditional marketing means. So for us, referrals really do sit within that particular framework. And when you look at it and you look at all of the data, and there's some numbers here that will ultimately emphasize the importance of that what we're actually talking about is giving people a non-frictional engagement process. We're looking at it from the point of view of conversion. We're looking at it from the point of view of what we can do to deliver that moment of transition, that point of assessment within the business, that customers at the end of the day, through word of mouth, have a much greater level of trust, and they will ultimately go into that buying process. And it's really having a strategy around that, which is hugely important. And it's significant for our world. Small businesses, they don't have the resources ultimately to spend vast amounts of money on large amounts of marketing or budgeting. But actually, if they invest in the experience, if they invest in that whole kind of process and enrich that whole kind of area and really do have a strategy around referrals, they can actually drive growth within their business in a significant and meaningful way. So does it work for B2B? Absolutely. And I think there's some key marketing areas within that as well. And a lot of marketing people refer to that kind of B2B environment. But at the end of the day, we know at the end of the day, when we're dealing with B2B, we're actually dealing with people. We're dealing with people who have a life, who are responsible for a particular aspect. And we want to make sure that if we can create that referral program that supports them and makes their life easier and makes what they do that much more valuable, then ultimately we're in that particular space that conversion rate will go up for our conversations with those people. And word of mouth is that huge sort of area of endorsement and validation. And I always think, again, that there's so many times that we're in that particular position and we've spoken to people in that particular, we've delivered an amazing experience, or we've delivered a piece of work. And you would guarantee that actually, if you go back to those people and say, would you refer me, that they probably would, if you made it simple and made it clear about that particular process. What is it that people would want to do in that world? How would they refer it? How would they deliver it? So it is an engine of growth. It's one that we can really focus in on. It's one that we can actually start to actually create a real strategy around and really energize ourselves into that particular space. And there are lots of different tools and there's lots of different applications around that. And we'll come on to some of the software that exists within that particular space a little bit in a few minutes. But ultimately, from that perspective, this referral process, right, is really about making and facilitating that word of mouth exchange and making it as meaningful and as possible as we can. So in terms of the kind of how does it work in terms of a strategy, I always think that one of the things that we need to think about is to really understand who our customer is, and to really sort of look at it from a compelling area, a niche of activity. That person at the end of the day, that industry, that organization, the pain, when we create that niche, we're actually doing it from a point of view of creating something which is around the pains and the gains of that particular customer. We often get a lot of, again, businesses that say, oh, I'm kind of niching, I'm going after millennial audiences or startups or small businesses or medium-sized businesses. They're not looking at it from the point of view of actually addressing the issue or the pain of that particular customer. That is your niche, and that is the conversation that you're really trying to have. And making yourself a niche-focused business is not about containment. It's not about curtailing our market space. It's actually about really focusing in on that particular area and making it relevant for ourselves and for our audience. So what we then have in that situation is we have that idea of focusing in and making a compelling offer that really does and is worthy of referral, is worthy of that moment. So that really does stand the test where we're actually in that particular space and looking to really energize that relationship between our customers. So ultimately, from that side of it, we're looking at creating something which is about capturing that lead, capturing that moment between ourselves and our customers, and making sure that we are able to do that in a particular way. And I think there's a great way of, a kind of a focus around this is for us is that when we're starting to grow our audience and we're starting to drive new users into our business, we need to provide some means and mechanism for them to facilitate some future engagement, to facilitate that process of feedback. But we also need, at the end of the day, for us to be able to actually sit there on new user signups and ultimately capture their email, understand who they are, so that we can build that audience and really start to focus in on what we can deliver. We're never going to get this right straight away. There will always be moments, right, where where there's resistances, where there are areas of kind of getting it wrong, but we need at the end of the day to understand how that actually features. And unless we can actually give these people an experience and ultimately from that point of view seek the feedback that's needed within this particular process, we're not really going to learn anything new about what we're delivering and how we can grow. Equally important within all of this is actually allowing people to go out of the loop, to actually exit and to become improved. We're never going to satisfy everybody within this particular equation. So we need to understand how that impacts that referral process and what we're actually asking people to do. So there are so many times when we give somebody a service, we let them go, they don't particularly enjoy it, and then what we end up with is a negative part of that feedback loop. Actually making sure that within our feedback strategy, and our referral strategy, there is a way of staying connected so that we're allowing people who aren't experiencing what they really truly wanted to experience, but we can learn how that can be developed. And the great thing about that this day and age is that technology is opening up that gambit, is opening up that opportunity within that particular space. And that means from our point of view, we can modify and hone the experience and make it much more of a personalized experience as well. So from that point of view, the next part of this to build into our systems and into our processes is actually to ask for referrals. And I think that this is one of those challenges that, again, people kind of get to. There is a great adage in business that, if you serve people, they give 80% of our customers the service and the performance that we want to give them, but we actually only, kind of never ask for that referral. So we only end up getting like 20% of the people delivering a referral. So it's a deliberate, strategic, purposeful moment to actually find a mechanism to ask for that referral. And we can't wait for that referral. We can't let the time dissipate. So we have to have something which is ultimately seamless in that particular process. Something at the end of the day that says, okay, we can ask for a referral. And now at that point, we can do that through websites. We can do that through the email strategies that we've got. And we can do it through systems and technologies as well that will allow us to be able to do that. So from that point of view, there is this whole kind of gambit of embedding a process into our systems, into our websites, into our communities, into the way that we work. And I think from us, from that point of view, we've got lots of different sort of kind of tools and ideas, but the whole kind of idea behind all of this is that we want to monitor where our leads will come from eventually. We want to understand data is something that as business people, we need to get to love. We need to ultimately fall in love with data. We need to find the mechanisms and ways that we can do this. And I think that there are lots of ways that we can bring that data thinking into it, and we can think about it from that perspective. But monitoring our leads, where they come from, understanding the channels and the ways that we can do it, really does impact how much we can evaluate the value that comes in through different routes and different marketplaces. So systems of referral, systemize it, make it part of the process, itemize it. There are plenty of technologies. There's a resource that I include in here, which is taken from somebody else, but ultimately, there are loads and loads of different softwares that can sit within your websites, that can sit within your business, that can actually start to think about referral marketing from that perspective. And I think that ultimately what they do and what they can do is they can deliver that data and they can deliver that focus around what's working, what can be used as an engine of growth within our business. And ultimately what we're aiming for with any of this is to create that viral moment where something at the end of the day starts to resonate with our audience in such a way that virally it will actually transport and go into a different area. So like we said, data analysis is hugely important, capturing that data, understanding where it comes from. One of the things, again, we always say to businesses is evaluate your data on a monthly basis, or then ultimately do not leave it for 6 months or a year, because you're not capturing the dynamics of your business. If you can put aside a couple of hours to look at your Google Analytics on your website, look at the engagement levels in your social media, look at what you're doing within that particular process, and then ultimately it will give you that real focus and drive within your business. It will make you focus upon the data that's actually going to create the focus, the delivery of what you're about. And finally, and without any means, it's a dynamic process. So we have to get into this idea that what we delivered yesterday can be refined. What we can open doors to in terms of our offer and our value will always modify and change and move forward. And it's really crucial that we understand that not only does what we offer change, but our customers at the end of the day move forward. The impact that we create with them changes the dynamics of that relationship, which makes it massively complex at times to manage our processes and our systems. But the thing about it is that referral process, that if you like, friendly information, the friendly fire of information that comes through into our business will actually give us the insights that we really want to use to develop and move that forward. So here's a resource. There's a whole load of kind of different softwares that sit there that ultimately can help you develop that kind of process that sits within the referral marketing. These are stuff there you can see. There are plenty there with free trials. Most services of software will grant you that. Some have a starting and access point, which is relatively low and then can be built, and others have relatively high access points within that. But if you're building and if you're thinking about the business side, the delivery side of what you're doing within this, then you need to be able to actually engage and capture with some of this. And this just simplifies that process. Some of those particular services and software, they will actually ultimately simplify what it is that you're delivering within that. And it needs to fit our business models. It really does. It needs to make sure that what we're delivering is relevant to the businesses and the way that we can deliver value to our customers. So understanding that business model relationship is really, really crucial to actually how we build the referral process and how we deliver it. I think that there are lots of touch points that we create within our business. And what we really need to understand is when we create a touch point, how do we evaluate the success or failure of that particular touch point without the knowledge, right, of data and conversations? It's not just about numbers. It's also about, that qualitative data that we can extract from it. Surveys are great, and we encourage people to always think about how I can survey my audience. But actually, surveys can become onerous to a lot of people as well. And we can get tired of surveying. So we have to create value exchanges within that particular process, gathering that information in a positive and a value way. So from that point of view, when you think about the kind of referral mechanisms that you're putting in place, what you're thinking about is creating either referrals that reward the referee, or referrals that reward both the referee and the person doing the referring. So ultimately, from that perspective, we're trying to actually create win-wins within that. And we have to understand as well within that what those numbers really look like and how they fit in with the business. So here's a kind of an example of a particular business that we kind of work with and looked at before, which is a coffee-based business, which ultimately has a win-win situation. And it's a very simple piece of mathematics for their perspective. They cost them £20 for each time they bring in somebody into their business to buy a bag of coffee. And you might think that's a lot of money when you think about it. But actually, when you evaluate that £20 versus what they would be spending on their normal outbound marketing approach when it comes to Facebook adverts and all the rest of it, and the lifetime value of a referee versus the exchange value of an referee, they know at the end of the day that represents value for them. And overall, that's something which they do. And it works, and it has worked, and they've grown enormously in that particular position. But they have a really good product. They have a really good service. They also have a website which is hugely accessible. They educate the audience enormously about coffee, about where it comes from, what it's doing. They really do engage in that experience, and they make it accessible, and it kind of an overall part of that fun. And they make it really easy. So the thing about any referral strategy you have is simplicity. There's no point giving people the opportunity to refer, right, and making it massively complicated. So you've got to select that QR code to go to this particular box, to select that particular offer, to do this, that, and you've lost your customer within the first 10 seconds of that transaction. So being really clear about what that referral mechanism is and simplifying it. This is their only referral method, right? They really do have £10 in, £10 out, £20 cost, but they know at the end of the day, the lifetime value of that customer is massively huge when it comes to what they can achieve. So knowing our numbers is really, really important within any of this. And I was always, and I am blown away a lot of the time when people put together marketing campaigns and they don't consider what they're actually spending versus what they're actually getting back through the door. And for me, it was quite brought to light when I had a customer who was very much involved in, I think it was a product around shoes, and was wanting to grow her business or grow their business about selling shoes online. And they were looking at Facebook adverts. They were looking at spending vast amounts of money on that, and they equated that to sales. And at the end of the day, they hadn't actually equated it. They equated it to revenue, but they hadn't actually equated it to contribution. They hadn't equated the activity to the actual contribution post all the costs of what was actually achieved. And there's an example of that going forward. So these particular KPIs or key performance indicators, or just simply numbers and metrics that we want to really understand, is one of which is customer acquisition, which is ultimately all of our marketing costs and our sales costs divided by the number of customers. What does it actually cost us to get somebody on board? And through the channels that we can actually do that and actually work within that particular place. So from a referral perspective, what do we want to spend on referral marketing in sales in order that we can, and what customers can we expect within that? And we can evaluate all of our particular strategies against that particular metric. And we can then think about it from the point of view of where do we want to put our money, to our budgets, to our strategy within that particular area? Where can we be lean about it? Thinking about the lifetime value, sometimes it's really hard when we think about lifetime value because maybe we haven't really got that many customers or for that length of time. But what we really want to know is there is a predicted lifetime value based upon what we can do. And if we're underachieving on the lifetime value, what we're actually saying there is retention is falling. And if retention is falling, what that really means at the end of the day is that we haven't got a value proposition which is resonating for enough time, a long enough period of time with our customers. So we have an aspiration for lifetime value that we build into our models and into our systems and into our financials. But at the end of the day, we measure what the real lifetime value is, and that's to how long the customer stays within the business. How long do they stay and actually spend money within the business, and what that value is over that period of time. And if you look at the two together, then we have a particular ratio or a metric, which will kind of give us an idea again about the aspiration, but ultimately where we actually think we can improve. You can create lifetime values through your different channels, and that's always a really telling and interesting thing. So if you are reliant on Facebook marketing or social media adverts to drive your business and bring that forward through that process, then ultimately from that perspective, you've got one channel there that you can evaluate with this metric. But then if you've got money that you are spending on referral marketing, you can evaluate this. And I guarantee that when you start looking at the referral side of it and start looking at the lifetime value and the retention, the customer acquisition costs, you can understand how much more or how much less you need to put into each of those particular strategies and channels. So here's an example of somebody, like I said, who's a lady that maybe spent £10,000 on Facebook ads. She gets 6,700 leads. Her conversion factor is 6%, so she ends up with 402 sales. She sees that, excluding VAT, as revenue of 38,592. She thinks 1 to 4 roughly, that's pretty cool. But when you actually then take away all of the costs associated to that, the purchase price, the amount of storage time spent on the shelf, the transport costs, wastes left of theft, and all the rest of it, she ends up with actually the contribution of being £22.25 per pair of shoes. And that, at that particular point, says to her, on that basis alone, right, the contribution isn't covering the Facebook spend. So it doesn't look great on the face of it. But there are going to be ways at the end of the day that she can, right, look upon this and modify it. And she has to understand it. And this is where knowing our numbers can qualify some of that immediate sort of kind of analysis. And ultimately, when you look at it, if she'd have looked at the lifetime value and the ratio of that, and that lifetime value of Facebook may be very different, right, to that particular customer. So this was looking at it from a transactional perspective, but maybe if that customer buys 2 pairs or 3 pairs of shoes in the life of that, then that particular equation or that particular piece of mathematics would actually become more and more favorable. But without doing this analysis, without doing these numbers, knowing how much money we want to spend in our referral marketing strategy becomes a gamble and not a certainty. And I think that's really, again, really important. So ultimately, from that perspective, do you got any ideas, anybody, that what she could potentially do to actually do that, other than, you know, kind of shift? What would you be doing if you were spending that sort of money on Facebook? What would you be looking at in terms of driving some sort of kind of better equation that would actually get there? Any ideas? Put it in chat if you want. Okay, I think one of the things that she could have done ultimately is focused in on the conversion factor, how she could improve that in terms of the transition, how she could make that better. Within that, give vouchers on established customers, absolutely, that could have done it, where she could actually start to really embed some sort of additional value, some additional churn within that particular space. All of it really at the end of the day is just really focusing in. If we know the numbers and we know the data, we can really be focused upon that referral marketing side of it. Absolutely, really find the ideal customer and the target market so that ultimately she's looking for people potentially who want to spend more over that period of time, rather than the transactional customers, the fast fashion side of it. She may be looking at something that would enhance that buying journey and maybe that would allow people to actually stay connected that little bit more. So I think those are really important sort of kind of ideas and consequences around what she's doing. So I think from that perspective, it's really important to actually sort of kind of think through, but we can't know that until we know the numbers. So there's a guy, Seth Godin, who writes really good books. I don't know if anybody's read any, but The Purple Cow, things like that, stuff like that, which is really, really valuable when it comes to understanding how to create differentiation. And I like this quote because I think for me, it just sums up the experience side of it. They buy relations, stories, and magic. And I think that at the end of the day is what people are really interested in getting involved with. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking B2B or whether we're talking B2C. We want to make sure that we are delivering the most the best experience that people can get, so that ultimately that's in that referral space and that they'll do that. So we've got one side of the marketplace, we've got that referral marketing side, and now let's think about what it means in terms of building a referral network and why a referral network supports the overall development of our business in order that we can enhance that to actually create something of value for our customers. So that referral network process is, in my mind, this idea of pushing stuff out there, pushing content out there, pushing organically our space, becoming that voice within that particular space that we want to be heard and we want to really deliver. And it's also about making sure that we're reaching out to the people that we really want to reach out to and getting a really good handle on our referral network, getting a really good handle on who's in our network and who matters to us, right, is really, really crucial when we're starting to develop that. And I think that it comes down to going back to that value triangle, knowing at the end of the day what the values are of ourselves, and speaking in a language, speaking in a way which actually does resonate emotionally with our customers, with the referral network that we're trying to build up, with people who don't necessarily are our customers, but are actually our tribe and our community that we really want to connect to. Because actually, when we think about it, the better the experience that we can create, if we can enhance that experience through partnerships, through collaborations, through lots of different areas of development, then at that particular point, we can really drive that kind of referral process. We can really elevate what we're doing. And we can start to get opportunities coming to us rather than us having to chase all the opportunities. And that's something, again, which is really, really crucial to the development of our business. We want those opportunities to come through the door. And it's a challenging process, and it's something that we need to keep a handle on. But that is where we need to really start to think and use the tools around us. And we've got one tool with us, which is, of course, that idea of networks and the way that they work. So what does that all mean in terms of this area? There's an authenticity that we have to present into our networks, into our space, that can grow the referral network, that can grow our networks in a particular way, where we can actually start to be seen with integrity, that we're actually delivering something which is authentic and relevant and ultimately of value to that particular audience. And I like those 4 dimensions of integrity. I like that consistency. I like the idea that we have to be consistent. I like the idea that we have to be, kind of come from a position of, we've got it right, we got it wrong. We need to be honest, we need to open. I think there's too much sometimes to where we hold stuff back and we're fearful of letting out where it's not working or where it's not doing or something along those lines. So being clear and being open within that particular area, and then ultimately being agile and responsive enough to everything that we get. One of the things when we talk about people, when we take them through the accelerator programs and the like, we talk about the radar, the antennae that we have around us as an entrepreneur, and we have to immerse ourselves into our environment. We have to understand where that comes from so that we can really be responsive and really move around that particular area. And then ultimately act in a purposeful way, which for us is ethical, that aligns to our values, to our organizational values, and ultimately to our customer values. Trust is absolutely implicit in risk. So the greater that we build trust with our networks, the greater the risk that we can take with our networks, the greater that we can build that process. I always think that it's always nerve-wracking when we start putting out, but trust is in our hands. It's not in, it's in our ability to give trust. It's in our ability to take trust away. But when we give trust to somebody, it's a scary process. So we don't want to go out there and trust somebody or whatever and put it right into that particular space and not being able to do anything within that. So we take baby steps within that process. We learn from each other how we can develop that trusted relationship and trusted partnerships. And when we do, we can grow that level of risk that we're willing to take. And when I talk about risk, I talk about not financial risk alone, but reputational risk. We're talking about the risk of getting lost amongst the weeds instead of being focused on what we really want to do. These are things at the end of the day that we can actually start to manage. And that's, again, part of how we want to connect and how we want to actually build that referral network. So it starts again being relevant in the niche, knowing at the end of the day to reach out to people who are in that particular area, professionals, people at the end of the day that have got already a significant footprint that's along that line, so that we can actually move through that process. One of the things that you can do is host an event, do a webinar, put it out there and say, this is what we're going to do, give people that opportunity, let people understand where it is, host it, put it out, share it, get it amongst the networks, get it amongst that, leverage the networks, find people that have a good footprint and a good area of development and reach out to them. So there's a lady that I'm working with again, that she's just gone off to a particular event and she keeps sending me photos of people that she's sort of kind of having a chat with. And so she's been talking to Steve Bartley, she's been talking to somebody off one of the television programs, anyway. But all of these things, she's kind of putting herself into that environment. One of the guys that we work with, again, he's just reached out to Ed Sheeran. He's probably said, the first thing he said to me was, probably got no hope, but actually I've got an avenue and a way in to actually have a conversation with somebody like that. So it's, again, thinking about what we can do within that. Pitch a meeting, get that conversation going. I think when I met with Scott, it was very much about a LinkedIn approach. It was then about, let's have a conversation. It was getting us into that particular area, getting us off the screen and into a virtual cup of coffee, he's miles away from where we are, but a virtual cup of coffee and a chat. And it really started to sort of resonate and build that level of trust. Going back to the data stuff, we always want to know that area of data and build those processes into it. And this is, again, where that really focus in on that inner circle network and that community really will pay dividends. So that's the power of LinkedIn, and that's the power of what we're trying to achieve within that particular space. LinkedIn has a really powerful metric. When I joined LinkedIn in 2011, I had just lost my job. I'd just been made redundant from the city. I'd literally had no inclination or no idea what LinkedIn was about. There were 100 million people on LinkedIn in 2011. There are nearly 900 million people on it today, right? So it's an incredibly noisy place. And it's an incredibly polluted place, full of bots, full of spam, full of people who just simply identify you and send you an outreach message. And it clouds everything you do within your networks. So it's really important that when you're trying to build trust and trying to build those relationships, what do we need to do that? What do we need to do to use and power those networks in such a way? So when we think about networks, we think about two things. Those networks where we are really, really strongly tied, okay, and where we've got that kind of deep bond. But what you find with those networks is they're contained. That means at the end of the day that you know that person well, and you probably know their connections well. And that means at that point, you've got a good trusted environment in which to actually do that. But you also have this ability to be able to, it's contained within that particular area. On the other side of that, you've got this idea of weak ties, right? You've got those connections where potentially somebody knows somebody, but you don't know them that well. And this is where LinkedIn is a really powerful tool, because you can work to grow those weak ties into strong ties. And then when you develop that relationship and move them into your strong tie network, that's the point where the magic can really come together. That's the relationships, that's the bit that can really sort of do that. But you've got to have a strategy that works for the weak ties. You've got to have a strategy that works for the strong ties and building that through. Most of the stuff that we do in research is always focused about strong relationships, building short, kind of collective, face-to-face, very powerful, strong relationships. And very little has been discussed about the kind of weak ties as well. So things that you can do with strong ties: grab a coffee together, do lots of things, stay in their eye line, like them, work with them, always act as a reciprocator of their processes, find ways of sharing and supporting what they're doing, elevating them as much as you possibly can, and then ultimately build that reciprocity into what you're doing. And you can create and develop this inner circle and allow people to come in and enjoy it and be a part of that. Weak ties, the strategy is very much about, how do I show value first? What do I put out there that actually starts to support that person? I don't really know, but I have a strategy that will lean out, that will actually make that connection through a connection, get introductions, do all of those different things. And then ultimately sort of kind of Be honest about the why you're connecting to them. Again, there's so much about this sort of kind of dishonest connections where people will reach out to you, connect to you, and then ultimately spam you for about a couple of weeks afterwards, and you just got to get rid of it. So there's this idea, and then ultimately what we need to do is be discerning about that. Turn the weak ties into the strong ties. Be really relevant within that particular space. So what does that mean? Well, there's a tool, and Scott's here to talk about that tool. And it's something that we've got for our networks, for our community, that we've opened up to them. It's a really powerful tool, right, in order for us to build some of those and start to build some of that inner circle around what we're doing. So I'd like to hand over and introduce you to Scott, and he will take you hopefully through that. Do you want to share your screen, Scott? Or
I will share my screen, James. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody. Does everyone just want to just stretch a little bit and just take a bit of anyone want to get a glass of water? That was powerful. James, wow. Some of those slides are just absolute magic. Really, really good, hey? And you've really done a perfect job of shaping the why, which is often something I need to do when I do these presentations, and I don't need to shape the why anymore. The same philosophy we have, James. I've always said that if you look after your first degree, you look after your trusted connections around you in business. If you look after them well enough, then they will make sure you never starve, number one. And number two, if you do a really good job of looking after them, they will introduce you to their networks and they make you successful. And that's what we're here to do. So really excited. So what I'm going to do then is I want to get straight into the how now, because James has done such a brilliant job of the why. Charlotte's quickly got her water. So anyone else want to water anything? That's great. Excellent. Got some ice in there, Charlotte. You guys still in summer? No, you're getting cold now, I'm sure. In the UK there. Beautiful, guys. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to go straight into the how, and I'd love you guys to follow me. Just a quick one. Can you just quickly put in the chat, yes, if you have the Chrome extension installed? There's already 19 users of the Weave Networker. So really what I'm here to do today is introduce you to the Weave Networker Chrome extension. Just say yes if you've got it installed, and no if you haven't. Just so, okay, so it seems to be a couple of yeses, the odd no. Okay, definitely more no's. Couple of yeses, well done. So well done for those who've done it. Well, for the yeses, can I ask you to please give it a quick 5-star rating? I'm sure James will really appreciate that. You can just go onto the Chrome extension, the Chrome store. I'm putting the link into the chat now, and I want you guys to all follow me because we're going to do one thing really well today. I don't have time to teach you everything that this little baby can do, the Weave Networker can do. It is the Weave Network Chrome extension, so it's going to connect to the other members. So I'll put the link in there. Now, for those of you who are relatively technical, just follow me. If you've already got it installed, well done. You can quickly give it a 5-star rating. If you don't, just follow me. Just click on the link in the chat. Unfortunately, guys, it only works on Chrome and Microsoft Edge. We do not have a Firefox Safari version. So I know some of you are going, oh, I can hear already some of you beloved Mac users. How dare you not have one on my beloved Mac? But Mac still has Chrome, so you can still use it. So I hope that's not going to be too much of a sticky point. One day, I promise you, we will have a version ready for you Safari and Firefox users. All right. All right. So what you do, I'm sure you probably guessed this right now, as you just push the Add to Chrome button. Where can they get hold of this link for those people watching the recording, James? You're on mute.
Normal stuff there. I'll make a copy of it, and I'll make sure that we've got it kind of hosted into the content and the slides.
All right, great, thank you. So 19 of you guys have already found it, which is really good. So it's got quite a few users already. So just basically, you click Add to Chrome, you'll click Add to Extension. You can watch what I'm doing, and I'll give you guys a few seconds to do it. Now, for those of you who don't use Chrome extensions, it appears, and then when you click the X, it disappears. But it hides behind this puzzle piece. So if you just go to this puzzle piece and you pin it, you should have the Weave's cool little 3 triangle logo on your desktop. So I'm just going to give you guys a second to see if you've done that. I'd love you guys to follow me. If not, it's you can always come back to the video. So I'll give you guys a second to do that. How are you guys looking? Just give me a quick yes in the chat if you're good with that, and you've got that Chrome extension installed. It should take you 5 seconds. Well done, Rachel. Rachel with an A-E-L. Okay, great. So you guys are getting it pretty quickly. All right, looks pretty good. Right. So next step, you click once you've got the little weave, you click on it, the little weave icon on the top of your Chrome desktop. And again, it also works on Microsoft Edge, although not that many people use Edge. You can click on it, and you'll see the button here says Proceed to LinkedIn. So click on Proceed to LinkedIn, and it's going to take you to your own LinkedIn profile. Now, in some cases, it'll give an error. If it gives an error, it's because you're not logged into LinkedIn. So you just need to log into LinkedIn and then do it again, and you'll be able to go. So you should see your beautiful, happy, smiling face shining back at you. So you should see your LinkedIn profile right now. All right, everybody see their LinkedIn profile? Ali said almost there, had to log in. So Ali, you just let me know. And yes, I'll give Ali another few seconds. And I'll just make sure you guys have all managed to get to your LinkedIn profile. And you should see the Is This You little slider. Now you can move the slider up and down so it doesn't get in your way, and you could minimize it. Just letting you know that some people have been using this for months and then finally realized, I can move it out the way so it doesn't block other things that I'm doing. So you can just move it up and down. So how are you guys all looking there? Looking pretty good. Hopefully Ali's catching up. Ali's got a little rocket ship for a photograph. Quite like that little rocket ship. That's cool. So you probably guessed where it says, Is This You? You click Is This You? And you should see your handsome, smiling, beautiful face back at you. And you can then click Yes, This Is Me. There's a big button that says Yes, This Is Me. Say Yes, This Is Me again. And congratulations, you've now logged in. You've done everything you need to do. It's literally that simple. Well, when I say everything, I mean everything to get started. So what is the point of what we're doing here? I mean, I know that James has told you about the why. We're creating a referral network. I hope that was fairly obvious in what James had to say. We're going to start the process of creating referral networks, but more importantly, trusted referral networks. What's the difference? Well, I have 28,229 followers and about the same number of actual LinkedIn connections. I do not know 27,100 and something of those. I probably know 1,000 of them, and I network a lot. The rest of them, and I love what you said, James, you called them polluted. You said LinkedIn has been polluted. I might steal that. With your permission, I might borrow that term because it's brilliant. It's polluted. We have bots, spammers. We have all these people on right now that are just designed with one thing in their mind. How can I spam you and get a sales pitch in front of your eyeball as quickly as possible? Because for every 99 people I genuinely piss off, I might get one meeting and one sale. That's the attitude of the kind of marketing, the heavy marketers out there with regards to this. We're doing exactly the opposite. Okay, exactly the opposite. Ali, what I can suggest you do there, Ali's admitted technophobe, just come back to it later. Sit back, watch me, enjoy the show, and then come back to the video later. Once you get it going, you'll be able to get it going. Okay, so just watch what I do because I'd rather you actually pay attention because this is where it gets exciting. So now what you've noticed is it's made a few changes to a few LinkedIn pages. The first thing you've noticed is you've got the truster meter down here. Now, the truster meter, the meter you can trust, will help you go through from, and you have the Weave logo here. You start off at newbie, and then you've got a junior networker, and then you've got a senior networker, and then you've got a super connector, and then you've got a trusted advocate. So as you work your way up the truster meter, and if you click on the truster meter, it'll actually tell you, you don't have to do it now, but if you click on the truster meter, it'll tell you what you've got to do to get to the next level. And what's beautiful about this is you've got to give referrals and receive referrals and build your own private network, your trusted network, in order to move up the truster meter. So people who reach senior networker, for example, you know that they're not just takers. They're also givers. And that's what we want here. We want givers and takers. And that's what makes it beautiful. And now when you open the Weave Networker dashboard, if you click on it and it opens your dashboard, there's a lot of cool stuff here. And again, I don't have time to show it to all of you, but it's probably going to come up with 3 questions. All right, now just quickly, if you haven't got this on, for the recording, I'm going to quickly show you on your dashboard. There is a menu item here, and under the menu item, it says Match Me. This will be the default page that comes up when you log in. Now you should be all there. Quick little yes in a chat. How many of you guys see this little pop-up right now? Can you just put a yes? That's the rocket sound of the rocket ship taking off. That's Ellie's rocket ship taking off. Okay, Linda, well done. Okay, so we're getting them? Yes, okay, so you guys have got a couple of yeses. All right, so I'm going to show you something really simple to get started. So for those of you who just want simplicity first, this is for you. So how do we start making the use and start getting these referral networks going? Right, we're going to start with your family, and the family is your Weave family. All right, so you're going to be asked 3 questions here, and you guys can fill this out now if you like. People I would like to meet should be located in. This is question 1. So for your business, right, and you think about partners and think about customers and clients, where would they be? So if it's worldwide and you can take customers worldwide, leave it blank. However, if it's UK, just type UK. Probably better to type United Kingdom. Might be better, depending on how the AI decides to use it. But generally, it's pretty quick. So you can say, I'm looking for people in the UK, USA. You can say English-speaking countries. Just say people that I would like to meet should be located. Some of you might put Brighton because you're so located. You're really specific to where you want to meet. So quickly type in where you want to meet, and you can do it in plain English. You can write it in plain English. And then, as you probably guessed, the next question, people I would like to meet should not be located in. So you might really want to meet people in Yorkshire, but you really don't want to meet people in Manchester, just hypothetically. You might want to meet people in the UK and Ireland, but you might not want to meet people in Scotland. So because you put UK, so you want to say, I don't want to meet people in Scotland. So the geographic locations is question 1 and question 2. And then question 3, in less than 600 characters, and I do suggest you do it well less than 600 characters, tell the system input, people I would like to meet should be like this. And you can check my one here. I put owners of companies that clearly and specifically offer any one of these things. Digital marketing, lead generation, funnel building, marketing automation, marketing consulting, advertising, LinkedIn marketing, brand strategy, affiliate marketing. If they don't clearly fit this criteria, then score them low. So you don't have to actually put that in there. I was just playing around with the AI. I'll actually take that out. So I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to type in. And if you haven't got the Chrome extension installed yet, just make a note somewhere. Think of your target audience, and in less than 600 characters, write it down. Just out of interest, does anybody here not know their target audience? Because if you don't, have a chat with James. I'm sure he'll drill that into you. So who do you want to meet? And I do want to keep the options open. It's not just about customers or clients, guys. It's also about referral partners. So the reason I put owners of companies in marketing, digital marketing, etc., right, is because I don't want to sell to them. I want to partner with them. That's why I put these people in here. These are people I want to partner with. But you don't have to put just partners. You can also put potential customers. Ali says, is the Salesforce LinkedIn I need to add? I clicked that I need to start a free trial. No, Ali, you should only need to use the free version of LinkedIn for this. You should not use any fancy version of LinkedIn to be able to use this. It's all on the free version. And as part of the Weave, you should be good to go. Just so I can see how you guys are going. Does anyone want to? You can always come back to it later if it's not perfect and edit it. So just say it simply and in plain English. You want to just say a yes when you've done that, if you're happy with that. Rachel's on fire. The RR on fire today. I just want to make sure that 1 or 2 of others. Linda, how are you going there? Have you managed to do it? Suzanne, like to see Suzanne doing it. Can always come back to it later. Charlotte, I hope you managed to get it on as well. Hopefully you managed to get the Chrome extension installed. It's all going to make perfect sense now in the final few minutes. I just want you guys to get set up so you're ready to rock and roll. You're telling the Chrome extension, so you're telling the Weave Chrome extension to help you match you with other people within the Weave and beyond. Cool, Suzanne. No, that's a good point. So Suzanne said she needs to think about this a little bit more, which is absolutely fine, Suzanne. Don't worry. Okay, so you can come back to this later. So what I'm going to do, just for time's sake, is I'm just going to hit update. And please, can you all watch this? Because this is beautiful, what you're about to see. As it stands right now, you see this little block here? There are 144 people in the Weave community. And that's obviously growing all the time. So the question that you would ask yourself is, which of those 144 is a good person for me to meet straight away? Sure, you can meet them in events, that you guys have events regularly. That's great. But what about having what if you could have a members list where the AI could actually tell you which of these people, which of the 144 you should meet straight away? Well, that's exactly what's going to happen. So you click the Weave members list. Alternatively, you can go to the menu item with this little hamburger menu item, and you can also choose the Weave members list from here. All right. It'll take you to the Weave members list. Now, this is a far more complicated than it looks. It looks simple. It looks like, oh dear, just a boring Weave members list. So there's Suzanne. Yay, there's Suzanne. And there's Rachel. Yay. I hope I'm pronouncing your name, Rachel. I'm not quite sure if it might be more exotic. Charlotte, Christina, here you guys are. So all the way the Weave members, and there's 144 of them. It's now showing the first 10, and it shows them the latest to come in. So if you come back next week, and there's more Weave members that have been added, and that's up to James and his team to add them, they will all be here at the top. All right, but it's going to get interesting now, guys, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, because this is going to go from a 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions in a second. But right now, you just got a kind of dull, boring, typical members list. But you'll notice question mark out of 10, and you'll notice a little cycle next to it. What I want you to do is I want you to click the cycle button. What it's doing now is it's running a score on each of these people based on what you put in earlier, who you would like to meet. You'll see that popping up now. There's a 7 out of 10, there's a 2 out of 10, there's a 5 out of 10. That does not mean that Sigun has a 5 out of 10 personality and Thomas Forster has a 3 out of 10 personality. It's not rating people on their personality. All right. It's rating them on how they match for you to have a meeting with the right quality person based on what you put into the AI to tell it what to do. It's already given me 2 really good meetings. Carolina, right? And Marco are both 8 out of 10. If you mouse over, it'll show you why they are 8 out of 10. And I'm going to hold there for a second so you can all do this. I'd like to hear if anybody's got some good scores. Anyone got some good scores or bad scores? Oh my God, Charlotte, I hope your daughter's okay. Charlotte's quickly looking after her daughter there. Hope everything's all right, Charlotte. Please let us know she's okay, because we hear tragedy and hopefully it's very minor. Who's got some scores? Rachel? Raphael? Have you got some scores? Miss RR? Mrs. RR? Okay, good. Charlotte's daughter's fine. Breathe, everybody. I want somebody to book an appointment right now. I want, or at least reach out to somebody. I want you to reach out. So this is why I'm so excited. So I want you to, you'll see there's a LinkedIn, a view LinkedIn profile, and they'll take you to the LinkedIn profile. So what I would do right now is Carolina's made it 8 out of 10. That means I can go to her LinkedIn profile. I can reach out and say, Carolina, like the song, you're with the Weave, I'm with the Weave. Let's weave some magic and have a meeting. Let's do a one-on-one. And it's because this is the kind of person you want to meet. And you can run those scores. So Rachel, watch my screen quickly. She's just asking, how do you see the scores again? I will go to the next page and show you. So I'm going to go to the next page of the scores. How do I run the scores? You'll see it says question mark out of 10. Right. Next to question mark out of 10 is a spinning icon. Click the spinning icon and it'll start running those scores. It does 10 at a time. There they are. You see they start popping up. And all you do is you go, I look for 8 out of 10. 7 out of 10 is not bad, but genuinely 8 out of 10 or higher. There, see, Joanna Clayton is 8 out of 10. And it's been scored. You go to their LinkedIn profile, reach out. Okay, this is really important. So important. I'm going to stop sharing screens for a second. The Weave is your family. Your family is the core of your business network. When you add your family, which is the Weave, to your own trusted connections, which I'm going to show you how to do in a second, you have a beautiful first degree trusted connection network. But your family is the Weave, and meet other people in the Weave. Meet other members of your family, grow that first degree relationship. Because the more you grow your first degree relationships with other Weave members, the stronger your trusted network is going to become. And that's going to open doors to your second degree, which I'm going to show you how to do in the last few minutes. All happy with that? Back to share screen. Okay, so I've got 7 minutes left, and I'm just going to show you where things start to become very powerful. And I do encourage you guys to view some of the help videos. At the top of your dashboard, it'll say help videos. It'll take you through them. They're only a few minutes each. They will take you through in more detail. But right now, what I've shown you should be good enough for you to start getting meetings with other Weave members and start mixing with them. So straight away, that's the simple. Now I'm going to start getting a little bit more complex. Now I'm going to start talking about second degree trusted connections. Remember I told you how this can go from 2 dimensions into 3 dimensions? Well, that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. What does that mean? What is 3 dimensions? LinkedIn connections are useless. Well, 95% of them are. The 5%, the 1%, the 2%, the 0.1% of your LinkedIn connections that you genuinely know and trust, they are magic, but they are combined on LinkedIn. And that's LinkedIn's problem. Now, with this Weave Chrome extension, you'll be able to separate your trusted connections, pull them out of LinkedIn, and put them into the Chrome extension as your own private trusted connections network. All right. Now, Christine is a machine. Some of you might know her from the Weave. She's a member of the Weave already. You'll see in brackets, Christine. She's a member on your members list. She has got 181 trusted connections. If you click on that 181, or you click on the Weave logo over here, you can both do the same thing. It's going to show you, it's going to go into 3 dimensions. And now you go from a 2-dimensional members list. Now you can see Christine's trusted connections. Why is this so cool? Because you can now ask for a referral. And you can run the scores. The scores is only a premium version, so you won't be able to run the scores at this particular stage right now. But what you can do is you can use the search and filter to start searching Christine's second degree LinkedIn connections. And you'll see connection type is second degree because it's your second degree connection. And it's the second degree, what it means is it's the second degree of Christine, and it's Christine. If I take away Christine, it'll show me the second degree of everybody. Okay, of everybody in my network, but don't do that yet. So what you can then do is you can look through Christine's trusted connections and the magic button of all magic buttons is called request introduction. If I want to meet Sam, I will ask Christine for an introduction. If I want to meet Sabrina, ask Christine for an introduction. Now, if you don't know Christine, because she's a member of the Weave, you must have a one-on-one with her first. Have a one-on-one, build a trusted relationship. Now you can see their trusted connections and they can see yours. You know what it's like? It's like in the olden days where you would sit in a bar and it would be like, hello, bar, we'll be meeting today. I've met the head of the Bakers Guild. Hendrickson, the head of the Bakers Guild. I've been trying to get a hold of him. He never returns my telegram. Well, of course, I'll introduce you. Okay, well, you introduce me. I'll introduce you to the head of the Bakers Guild then. So you see, this is what we're doing. It's that really, really old-fashioned way of taking a glimpse into each other's private networks, trusted connections. And without ever reaching out to them directly, requesting that introduction. And James called that, he talked about reactive referrals and proactive referrals. This is how you can start with proactive referrals. So never be scared to request an introduction. The worst they can say is no. And I can tell you that with a 90% success rate, they will say yes, and they will make that introduction for you. And 90% of those introductions will lead to meetings. A gentle in the door meeting. All right, so this magic introduction is wonderful. I'm running out of time to show you how the search works, but you can really have some fun with the search. All right, you can have some really, you can search, for example, my whole second degree, and I can search only for lawyers in London, for example. So our database might not have, what did you say, James? 900 million people in it. In fact, as of today, we've got 24,556 trusted connections. But every single person in our database is legitimate. They are reachable via a trusted connection. They are one handshake away from you getting that meeting. And you'll be able to book meetings with some extraordinary people and really get in front of those people really well. So I don't have time to go into the overall ethos of that. I'm going to show you one last thing and then we're done. And that is, how do you add your own trusted connection? Well, I'm going to use James as a guinea pig, and I would love you guys to all use James as a guinea pig. There we go. Right, so I'm going to just quickly refresh, and I'm going to close that down. Once again, there's Carolina. You can see she's also installed it. There's so many cool things I can show you. You get her scores on LinkedIn. It actually rates her LinkedIn profile. Is she the right person for you to meet? It shows you other people she knows. I can get lost in the beauty of the system, but I won't. All right, back to James. Right, so back to James. There we go. All right, so James, I need to fix that. That's a little technical glitch. Should say premium, not just prim. He's prim and proper, is what it's basically saying James is. All right, so prim and proper James. How do I add James to a trusted connection? Right, James, it's basically one button, but you need to be a first degree connection on LinkedIn before you can add that individual to your trusted connections. All right, it's a security feature. Every person in our 24,400 and whatever people has been meticulously added one by one. They've been vetted. These are the real people outside of the pollution of LinkedIn. Right, so I even met James using this methodology. So there you go. Case in point. Congratulations, James. You've reached junior networker on the Trustometer. Well done. So how do I add James? He's a first degree, right? He's a first degree LinkedIn connection. And there's a button here that says add James in as your trusted connection. Before I do that quickly, I might want to read James's personality. For those of you who love personality profiles, it estimates based on his LinkedIn profile what James is on the DISC profile, on the Myers-Briggs profile, on the Enneagram personality test, and 3 things that make James excited. So when you meet somebody, run their personality test, see what makes them excited, and that will help guide the meeting. If they're analytical, make the meeting more analytical, right? If they, red personality like I am, then, if it's not written on the back of a matchbox, it's too complicated. So have some fun with asking questions of his LinkedIn profile using the ask button. Right. Sorry, I don't have any more time. What's the magic button? Add James as your trusted connection. You click add James as your trusted connection. You can give him a tag. Some of the tags are already here for you, or you can create your own tag. You can create notes, but like a CRM, although this is not here to replace a CRM, but it's creating your trusted network. You say, yes, I trust this person. James is definitely trustworthy. I say, yes, okay, great. Congratulations. James is now green. He's in my trusted connections. I can see all of James's 145 trusted connections. I can request introductions. I can request referrals. ChatGPT has even written a nice little reach out to James.
And ultimately, that's the link at the end of the day for anybody that isn't part of the Mighty Networks that wants to join the Mighty Networks and be a part of that. And we'd be more than welcome to come along. It's free. There's a community, and we're just putting in all of that kind of referral stuff and that content at the end of the day. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, for coming along. We will do and rehash the video and make sure it's up there in the community for everybody to have a look at. Share the links definitely for all of the downloads, and ultimately reach out to myself or anybody within this network to see where we can push business and take it forward. So thank you very much indeed, everybody, and much appreciated. And yeah, have a great evening.